Welcome, Aquarius, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 30th of March for the Ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon. Going to share with you first all the big themes of the week, then on screen your event chart as we come into the week, always provides an influential backdrop. I'll then go through each of the influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of energy, work, relationships and finance. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. It's a week which begins with a big cluster of energy still in the sign of Aries, which is about passion, but for you, it's about passion around your ideas. But Venus leaves that area on Monday and moves into your fourth house. Now, Venus moving into Taurus is very sensuous, earthy, but for you, very much about your environment. How are you going to use that Venusian energy? We also have at the start of this week, Mercury forging a very constructive link to two other players. What does that mean for you? But by Thursday, there is the full moon. It's in your sister air sign of Libra. How will that play out? What's your backdrop on this particular full moon for the next 2 weeks? As we get to the end of the week, Mars forges a very dynamic link, but the Sun is squaring up to Jupiter. How will that work for you? So on the screen now, Aquarius, is your event chart. We need to be mindful of the two luminaries. There's the moon in the practical Virgo as we come into the week, but for you, it is in the deep eighth house. You could be thinking about something very carefully. You can see the moon is actually in a quincunx with Neptune and Saturn. And that's the key with third house energy. Although Saturn may slow things down a bit, make you more thoughtful, it can essentially be about quick communication. And the moon is in a deep area, so there may be something a little tender on Monday that just needs some care. But Venus moves later that day into Taurus, the first of the two zodiac signs it rules. Now, Venus in Taurus can be about how we feel about ourselves, our values, but also about money. But the fourth house is your environment. And Venus is particularly interested in aesthetics. So if you find yourself decorating over the rest of April, it wouldn't be a surprise. The Sun's going to join up with the Taurus Venus position on the 20th, which will give more impulse to that. But of course, Uranus has been there for 7 years, all but for the 4 months of last year. And Uranus is going to feature strongly towards the end of this week. But just circling back, the Sun moves forwards from Tuesday into the second decan of Aries, subruled by the Sun. So your ideas can take on more radiance. So even if there has been some slowing or you've encountered some resistance to what you're trying to say, do keep that sense of belief about what your message is. And also Pluto in your zodiac sign, very transformational, is in such a powerful link to Saturn at the start of this week. So if you have a particular idea that you're working on, it may be a social media channel. It could be a website. It may be that you're wanting to change your mode of transport. You might want to teach or train or learn something. The passion that you feel around that can be absolutely incredible at the start of this week, which is something to behold. But Mercury has been such a tricky influence of late. From the start of February, the 6th, in the sign of Pisces, through that retrograde. But this week is going to be forging a fantastic link to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter rules traditionally the sign of Pisces, so we get mutual receptivity. But look at the part of fortune in a conjunction with the planet of fortune in your sixth house. That can be very positive for your energy, but I think it could be also very good for your finances. If you're pitching for something, trying to negotiate, things can start to ebb in your direction. But the heart of the week sees that full moon. So the full moon for you is in the ninth house. The moon can be our environment, so the ninth house can be a need for a bit of a change, perhaps to create a bit more space. It may be, however, that communication generally is something that, although this is fast communication, the ninth house is much more about your higher ideals. And if you're having a conversation with someone over the next 2 weeks, you may find yourself feeling quite emotional if there is a difference of opinions. So just be conscious of that. So I think words, language, messages do need care, despite the fact the sun is or has moved from Tuesday into a more productive area for you. But as we get to the end of the week, Mars moves forwards and it's forging a sextile to Uranus. If there is or are some items in your home that you no longer use, that you could consider releasing, not only will it create more space physically, it will create more emotional space, and also it will give you some extra money. But equally, if you work from home, that might be something that starts to become more productive for you in managing time, managing people's needs around you. And because Venus is in your fourth house, you can also use a little bit of charm to express what you need. But just be aware that Venus does square up to Pluto at the end of this week. So if there is something you're talking about in the family, although it's important to use diplomacy, it probably is also important just to say it as it is. Or someone could think that you're kind of laying it on a little bit in order to get what, as they see it, is what you want from the situation. But as the week draws to a close, the sun has moved forward to such a degree it's squaring off to uh, Jupiter. The third house energy can be about the mind as much as the ideas. It can also be about our physical movements. I think that can create a real sense of optimism, but it can also trick us into promising more than we can realistically deliver. So just be aware of uh, the Sun square Jupiter. And again, I think maybe around a home or family situation. I'm going to recount those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and money. But just to say, Aquarius, if you've yet to watch your April deep dive monthly forecast on the screen now, your 29-year cycle Saturn forecast on the screen now. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please see the link below. Check out my testimonials. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning by seeing the link below. Get your celestial pit stop. And also you can get my charts for 50% off my personal astrology reports. And again, please see below for more. So communication is definitely the key this week, but it's not just about going through the motions, particularly with Pluto applying to Saturn. If you've got something you profoundly believe in, you can punch it across with such conviction. But the full moon also suggests you may encounter someone who does see things in a very different way. When it comes to your work situation and finance, I think after a lot of frustration from the start of February, things could start to improve. But when it comes to your home, I think you could find yourself getting the paint charts out or getting in the garden if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly with the clocks changing in Britain at least. I know they changed in the USA on the 8th of March, but I think Europe changes over the weekend too. So it's going to see us all enjoying a bit more light. And I think Venus in the fourth house is lovely to start planting things and home cooking and all that kind of stuff too. Have a great week, Aquarius. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best and goodbye.